A lot of the attention has been on President Trump and his selections for the various cabinet posts, but there's a lot more going on. In fact, there's several key positions in Congress that will shape the next 2 years and beyond. And one of those is the incoming chairman of the Republican Study Committee. That is the largest and most influential conservative caucus in the House of Representatives. And last month, Texas Congressman August Pfluger was elected to chair the RSC for the 119th Congress. He joins us now to talk about the role that the RSC will play in carrying out President Trump's agenda in the next Congress. Congressman Pfluger, welcome back to Washington Watch, and congratulations on your election.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for having me again. It's good to see you.
And, you follow a line of a lot of very talented and gifted leaders. Mike Pence served as the chairman of the study committee. Mike Johnson is now speaker. Steve Scalise. So there's a lot of men and women who have served in a key role there at the study committee.
Well, there certainly are. I'm humbled to be able to lead this organization, and actually, in the lead up to the election, spent a lot of time talking to the former chairman, understanding what they did, what the organization means to Congress, how it changes depending on majority or minority, White House or not. And suffice it to say that not only am I excited, but I think it's going to be a great opportunity for the Republican Study Committee to play a very big role in our conference, in the governing of our country, and in filling the mandate that the American people gave to us on November 5th.
Now, the Congress, as it appears to be shaping up, the Republicans are once again going to have a very slim margin, a historic, maybe one seat, depending on how things go as the president pulls members out to serve in his cabinet. What role do you see the Republican Study Committee playing in that scenario, in that environment with a very slim majority?
Well, the American people spoke loud and clear, and they expect certain things to happen. And you're right, we do have a slim majority, but I kind of look at that as an opportunity, and especially for the RSC to be the gatekeeper, to be the communicator, the educator, the meeting every week. I mean, this really is the only meeting where Republicans have a substantive policy discussion on a weekly basis. And early on in our time in January, border security, energy security, budget reconciliation, the things that the American people expect us to get done quickly, I think the RSC will play a pivotal role in not only holding meetings where we're discussing and debating and having dialogues on that policy, but also unifying that slim majority, getting behind good conservative policy, and gaining the trust of the American people. I'm excited about the opportunity. I think it's going to play a very big role. RSC will be right at the heart of all of these discussions.
Congressman Pfluger, you talk about the election and the mandate that came from the American people, what they said they wanted to see. So how will that shape the priorities of the Republican Study Committee as you go into the 119th Congress? What do you see as the top three initiatives that you'll be focused on?
Well, I'm a military guy. I love this question because it's based on strategy. It's based on mission focus. I think number one, border security is going to be the thing that we've got to get right. A lot of that comes from the president and us supporting him and the policies that he needs to actually enforce that we know President Biden did not enforce. Number two, energy security. I represent the Permian Basin. It's the largest secure supply of oil and gas in the world. But when it comes to American energy dominance, President Biden has tried to kill that for the last 4 years and has used every tool available. Lastly, and RSC will play a role in regaining that dominance and regaining the ability to invest in energy because we know that's going to increase. And lastly, think about budget reconciliation, the trillions of dollars that were spent out of the door without a discussion or a debate. We're going to claw those back. We're going to make sure that the revenues that should rightly be going to the government are captured, that the tax rates are lowered, that we can capitalize on the gains that were made in 2017 and get the economy back in gear because we know that we have so much potential and households are hurting right now. So RSC is going to play a role in all three of those: border security, energy security, and reconciliation to get the economy back in gear.
Congressman Pfluger, military background, you and I have talked about a number of topics, and of course the RSC covers the whole landscape of issues, not only domestic, but you speak into foreign policy issues as well. As you get settled into this position, as you contemplate what faces this nation, what do you see ahead as the greatest challenges facing our nation?
I'm glad you brought that up because the three issues that I think were the chronological priorities for us underpin our national security. We live in a dangerous world. I mean, it doesn't take long to look across the world and see turmoil, whether it's in Europe with a hot war between Russia and Ukraine, or the Middle East, where the Iranians and the Hezbollah and Hamas terrorist organizations have attacked Israel, or whether it's in the Indo-Pacific with the Chinese Communist Party threatening that region and beyond. We have to be strong. Peace through strength is a must. RSC will play a very, very strong role in helping communicate, helping educate across the board what our committees are doing, how we regain our military prowess, how we recapitalize and add lethality and readiness back into the lexicon for our military professionals, and how we deter would-be enemies and adversaries, because our strength, our survival, and our way of life really depends on that fact.
You know, having served in the Marine Corps under Ronald Reagan, whose motto was peace through strength, and he rebuilt our nation's military so that we could have that strength, so that we had peace. And my entire time in the Marine Corps was a time when the nation was at peace. But there's also an understanding that what we face today is not just physical, but our viewers and listeners understand there's a spiritual battle raging around the world. You cannot look at the Middle East and not see the spiritual side of things. You cannot look at some of the domestic policies that have been pushed by this outgoing administration and not see the spiritual nature of that. So based on that, Congressman Pfluger, how can our viewers and listeners be praying for you in this new leadership role that you are taking on come January?
Well, you're absolutely right. And I believe that to my core. Just on the shelf behind me, I have the Founder's Bible, which I love reading, and I love understanding how this country was formed and founded, and the principles, whether it's Isaiah or Matthew or Luke, Old Testament or New Testament. The prayers that we need right now from every American are for discernment. They're for wisdom. They're for cutting through the chaff and getting to the heart of the issues that will help our country continue to be the greatest country in the world, that will help the next generation live in a debt-free world, that they don't take on $35 trillion of debt. There are going to be a lot of things that will maybe appear to be good and appear to be worthy of our cause, but we really need to pray to make sure that we're tackling the right issues to get to the heart of the things that are preventing our country and preventing our citizens and preventing Americans from our full potential. So that's the prayer that I would ask for. It's the same prayer that I pray for myself and for other leaders. And I really appreciate you asking that. And that's what makes your show so special.
So praying for discernment and insight so that you'll be able to, and I think it's a great way to look at this, because we want to cut through the symptoms and go to the source of the problem. Because my time in Washington over the last 2 decades, I found we spent a lot of time our elected leaders spend a lot of time dealing with symptoms when we've got to go to the source of the issue, and that's the discernment and the wisdom and the insight that is needed. And Congressman Pfluger, that's exactly what we're going to be praying for you. And we're going to encourage our listeners and viewers to do the same as we move into this 119th Congress, which has the potential to be a historic Congress as you move in with control of the Senate. Republicans have control of the Senate, control of the House, albeit small in terms of its margins, and the White House. This is it's a historic time.
Tony, it is. And, you know, we started the conversation today by talking about that slim majority. But honestly, when you don't have a lot of extra resources, and in this case, the resource I'm talking about is Republican congressmen and women, then you really have to be surgical about your approach. You really have to be focused. You really have to understand what it is legislatively and policy-wise that's going to get us to that mission accomplishment. And I think it is going to be historic. I think we are going to accomplish the mandate. And I do believe that we're going to look back on the 2025 to 2027 period of time as one of the greatest legislative and governing periods in the history of our country. I'm very confident in that.
Well, I would add to that list, based on what you just said, Congressman Pfluger, we need to be praying for unity. And of course, unity, we don't pursue unity for unity itself, but we pursue it by pursuing the truth and what we can come together on in agreement. And I think that goes quite well with praying for discernment and understanding that around that discernment, around that understanding, we would build unity in the 119th Congress so that we can move the nation forward.
Well, I love that. That's exactly why I wanted to run for Republican Study Committee chairman. I believe in this country. I believe in our conference. I believe in the fact that we can be unified. And we're going to have to in order to get the business of the American people done. We're going to have to unify. And I believe that we are on track to do that. The next couple of weeks will set those conditions. And so appreciate you having me on to discuss it because we are ready. We're energetic. And we're already at work prepping and getting things in motion for successful outcomes in 2025.
Well, Congressman August Pfluger, I want to thank you for joining us. I went a little bit longer than I anticipated, but I wanted to give you a chance to kind of lay out the agenda and encourage people to be praying, because I think we do have a unique opportunity going into January, and we must seize this moment. And I'll be praying for your success as the incoming chairman of the Republican Study Committee.
Tony, thank you so much. Thanks for having me on, and we're so excited to see what's in store for this country and to do the work of the American people.
All right. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll be talking soon, I'm sure.